Okay, let's get right into it. We're going to be breaking down a really big educational challenge. What do you do to help older students who are still struggling with reading? And to do that, we're going to unpack a pretty comprehensive guide from the state of Ohio, using it as our blueprint for how you can build a system that creates real, lasting change.
I'm willing to bet that for most of us, that's exactly the image that pops into our heads. But here's the thing, learning to read doesn't just stop in elementary school. For a lot of students, the challenges they face with reading actually get way more complex as they get older, and that turns what should be a tool for learning into a huge barrier.
You know, when a student in middle or high school hits a wall with reading, it's so much more than just not liking a book. It becomes this whole cascade of challenges that can affect their entire academic life, and even how they see themselves as a learner.
What's really powerful here is you can see how these challenges create this vicious cycle, right? If you can't decode those bigger, more complex words, your reading slows way down, and you lose the meaning of what you're even reading. And because that's so frustrating, you just start reading less, which means your vocabulary doesn't grow. And eventually, you just start to believe, I'm just not a good reader. And that might be the most damaging part of all.
But here is the most crucial point, and it's a really powerful one. It is absolutely not too late. The research on this is crystal clear. With the right kind of intensive support, older students can make massive progress. So this isn't about a lost cause. It's really a call to action.
So how do we answer that call? Well, this Ohio guide gives us a really actionable blueprint. It's like a playbook for building a complete system from the ground up, and it's all built on 3 core strategies that have to work together. So here's our roadmap. We're going to look at building the right team, teaching what actually works, providing smart support, and then finally how the system itself is the real solution. So let's kick things off with the team.
The first big idea here is that this isn't a job for one teacher. No way! Improving literacy is a team sport, and it has to be built on this foundation of shared leadership that runs through the entire school system.
And here's how that structure works. You've got these 3 interconnected teams. Up top, the district team, or DLT. They set the big vision. Then the building team, the BLT, makes it real inside each school. And finally, you have the teacher-based teams, the TBTs, who are right there on the front lines, using student data to plan instruction. It's a whole chain of command designed for communication and accountability.
Take a look at who's actually on these teams. This isn't just a bunch of administrators in a room. You've got reading specialists, you've got teachers who specialize in English learners, special education teachers, content teachers. The whole team is built to actually reflect the student body, making sure every type of learner has an expert in their corner when decisions are being made.
Okay, so you've built your team. Now, what do they actually teach? Strategy 2 is all about the instruction itself, and it's about moving away from guesswork and towards the proven science of how our brains actually learn to read.
It all starts with this really fundamental idea, the simple view of reading. Just think of it like a math equation. Word recognition multiplied by language comprehension equals reading comprehension. Now, if either of those first 2 parts is weak, like if a student can't sound out the words or they don't know what those words mean, then real comprehension is pretty much impossible. You have to have both.
So for older students, instruction is focused on these 5 big ideas. And we're not just talking about basic phonics anymore. We're talking about advanced word study, how to tackle those big multi-syllable words. We're talking about building a really rich vocabulary, reading smoothly and with expression, understanding complex ideas, and this one is so important, fostering the motivation to actually do the hard work.
And how are these skills taught? Well, it's through something called explicit and systematic instruction. This chart shows the difference perfectly. Instead of just hoping kids will pick things up, you teach skills directly. Instead of encouraging guessing from pictures, you teach them how to analyze word parts. It's a super structured, guided approach that research shows time and time again is way more effective for all students, but especially for struggling readers.
All right, so we've got the team and we've got the teaching methods. This third and final strategy is what makes it all work in the real world. It's all about using data to get the right help to the right student at exactly the right time.
I mean, this is the essential question, isn't it? You could have the best programs in the world, but they're totally useless if you don't know who needs them. The answer is having a smart, comprehensive system for assessment. This system has 4 key parts. First, you screen everybody to find out who might be at risk. Then, for those kids, you use diagnostic tests to pinpoint the exact skill they're missing. As you give them support, you use progress monitoring to check if it's actually working. And finally, you use outcome evaluations to see if you hit your big picture goals. See, each test answers a different, vital question.
And all that data you're collecting, it fuels this four-step cycle. The teams identify a problem, they analyze why it's happening, they implement a plan to fix it, and then they evaluate if their plan actually worked. It's just a continuous loop of getting better.
And this whole process naturally leads you to a tiered system of support. This model is just a brilliant way to organize instruction so that your resources are used super efficiently and every single student gets exactly the level of support they need to succeed.
So here's the breakdown. Tier 1 is that high-quality instruction that every student gets in the regular classes. For students who need a little more help, Tier 2 provides targeted small group support on top of Tier 1. And then for the very few students with really persistent difficulties, Tier 3 offers intensive, one-on-one, or very small group instruction. The key is they are layers of support, not different places students get sent.
So, when you put all of this together, the collaborative teams, the instruction based on evidence, and the data-driven support, you start to see that the real magic isn't in any one single piece. It's in how they all integrate to form one cohesive system.
And that's the crucial takeaway here. There is no silver bullet. You can't just buy a new curriculum or hire one reading coach and expect to fix adolescent literacy. Real, lasting success comes from building a system where all of these parts are working together in this constant, reinforcing cycle of improvement.
And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. This blueprint, with its intense focus on teams, on evidence, and on data, is fundamentally a model for solving really complex problems. So if it can work for a challenge as tough and as important as this one, you have to wonder, where else could we apply this kind of systematic thinking? What other big problems are just waiting for a blueprint?